What if some of the things we think horses need most aren't actually things that they would choose for themselves? We spend enormous amounts of time, money, and energy trying to give our horses the best care possible. Better feed, better tack, body work, training, veterinary care, farrier care. But what if the things they value most are much simpler? Choice, safety, time, connection, friends, a sense that they actually belong. What if the behaviors we call difficult, resistant, or even naughty are actually telling us that something's missing for our horses? Today, I wanted to try and explore that question from the horse's perspective. So take a deep breath, look deep into your soul, open up your mind. Remember, this podcast is about awareness without judgment. And hopefully today we're going to bring you a whole new level of awareness about your horse, maybe even yourself. Welcome, friends and fellow horse fiends. I'm Anna Fox of Equus Enlightened, and I'm your host. This is the podcast for horse lovers who want more than simply getting their horse to behave. You want to feel confident in the saddle. You want to understand what your horse is trying to tell you. And you want the partnership you imagined when horses first captured your heart. Even if fear, frustration, or years of conflicting advice have made that connection feel harder to find. Here, we explore the science and soul of horsemanship, equine behavior, nervous system regulation, rider psychology, and compassionate training that helps you become a thinking rider who creates a thinking horse. Because you don't need more pressure, more perfection, or another person telling you to just push through. You need the awareness, skills, and confidence to make decisions that feel right for both you and your horse. Whether you're pursuing competition goals, rebuilding your confidence, or simply trying to understand why your horse did that thing they did, we'll explore the research, the real talk, and the small shifts that create more clarity, connection, and joy in and out of the saddle. And if these conversations help you understand your horse or yourself just a little bit better, follow the show and share it with another horse person who might need it. It's one of the simplest ways you can help this community of loving equestrians grow. Now, grab your boots, take a deep breath. What are you waiting for? Come ride with me. This week, I am talking to Ginny Horton, author and illustrator of Soul Sketches, a book about how animal communication has helped animals and their humans. Ginny is an animal communicator located in the UK. Welcome, Ginny. Can you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Hello, thank you for having me. I've been an animal communicator professionally for about, I think I'm in my fifth year now, and it didn't start off like that. I started off many years ago as a child being very sensitive to animals, and actually throughout my childhood being bullied for my sensitivity, and which then obviously pushed me towards the animals even more, preferring their company over human company, which happens to a lot of people I know. And it wasn't until I was in my late teens and I had my first adult horse that I really started hearing the voices, if you like. And it was only in moments of danger. So I'd be riding around the village and I heard in my mind, "Be careful, car." I'm like, oh, who said that? Where did that come from? And then, sure enough, there was a car come flying around the bend far too fast towards me. And it happened 3 or 4 times. Because I was at that age, I didn't really think anything of it and didn't explore it too much. But the things like that kept happening. I just took it for granted that that was just how things were. It wasn't until one horse I had called Anthony died very suddenly. And then I bought my horse Orion. Something inside of me led me back to the spiritual side of things. And I researched how to learn about communication, because it had been sort of laying dormant within me. I think I really wanted to explore it, and then having the new horse Orion, something about him just sort of guided me to go and pursue it. So I went on some courses with a well-known communicator here in the UK and did several of his courses, and then just started practicing with Orion. That's how it all started, really.
We talked a little bit about how Orion influenced you to write the book before we came on, because one of my questions was going to be, was there that one horse that changed everything? I think for a lot of people, whether they're animal communicators or they're just on a equestrian journey, there's
Mm.
usually one horse that's flicks the light bulb on and you go, "Oh wow, this is what
Mm.
I've been missing or this is what I've misunderstood." And so when that happened, did you question yourself in the beginning?
I didn't question myself. I kind of questioned it, if you see
Mm,
what I mean.
mm-hmm,
So, having been on the courses, I learned about how to portray your emotion and to try and get that connection with the horse. So, I was sitting in the field with Orion, and colours play a very powerful part with communication, because colours represent emotion, and what those colours, what the emotions mean to you personally, and are all worked in with the colours. For example, when I want to express love, I visualise a pink cloud. And I was pushing this pink cloud into Orion. I was sitting in the field with him, and I was just pushing mentally, pushing this pink cloud into his chest, sort of from my heart to his. And I was just sitting there on the ground with him stood right behind me, his head over me like this, and I was pushing and pushing and pushing. And then out of nowhere, in my mind's eye, I received back a pink cloud that had got two golden padlocks locked together inside it. So that was the message from him. He was sending me back the pink cloud of love, and the two golden padlocks were locked together, symbolizing he and I, that we were locked together. Gold is quite important, because gold is supposed to be like a precious stone. The fact that they were golden padlocks was important as well, because the two of us locked together in a precious relationship, housed in a pink cloud of love. And in that moment, it was exactly what you say. In that moment, it was, wow, this stuff really works.
from that first understanding of, oh, I think I have the ability to do this, to now, has your understanding changed?
So what's changed and what's different is the fact that I trust. I trust the images that I receive. In the beginning, I was a bit hesitant about whether it was my own imagination, or
Mm-hmm.
whether it was a message. When you're doing it with your own horse, it's difficult to know, because you haven't got anybody to check with. So once I'd started to get this information back and forth from Orion and different scenarios, I just sat and I thought, well, how on earth can I test this? How can I check it? How can I hone my craft? How can I just see, how can I learn more? And so I advertised on social media about offering free photographic communications, for a donation for the Brook Equine charity. And I was inundated with people wanting it done. So that left me thinking, well, obviously lots of people are interested in this. Okay, it's a cheap thing for people, but they are open to it. Each photograph and communication I did gave me more information, gave me more images. Then I could feed it back to the human, who clarified or said, that's probably not quite how you thought it was, but it could mean this. And we just learn on the job, if you like. And so
Mm-hmm.
now I've got this huge dictionary in my mind of all the images that the horses have given me and the animals have given me. And I know what they represent and what they mean. And so when they come through now, I trust them immediately. Obviously, there's some that I see more regularly than others. You learn what the message is, really.
So we also talked before we came on about the difference between a reading and a communication.
Mm. So a reading is sort of like a passive interpretation of the information that's in front of you. It's not real time. It's what you see going on and your interpretation of it. Whereas a communication is a real time live dialogue in the moment. So if you go for a psychic reading or some kind of reading for somebody, it's somebody using their observational skills about your energetic and psychic energy, whereas mine is an actual live dialogue, direct dialogue with the subject, rather than just reading their energetic field.
That's really interesting, and I think an important distinction for people, because people like me who aren't necessarily in the world, I think that's a great explanation of it. Yeah,
It's quite tricky to use the right language to differentiate the two, and I kind of try and explain it that it's like Facebook Live. You know, you're having this direct live conversation
right,
in the moment, rather
right.
than trying to read an energetic field. It's actually real time communication dialogue.
That brings me to a question that I told you I've seen pop up a lot lately on social media is then how do remote communications work? Because I've seen a lot of people in the horse communities asking for actual communicators that will come out to them. People have a hard time thinking, how can somebody communicate with my horse if they aren't here with my horse?
That's exactly it, and that's where a lot of the skeptics come in and sort of not attack but question quite forcefully and poo-poo the whole thing, because how can you possibly, exactly what you've just said. But I've got clients all around the world. I've got a lot of clients in New Zealand, Mexico, the US, all over Europe, and that's because it's a telepathic connection, and I do it by a live video call on one of the WhatsApp or wherever. I do like a live video call with the person and their horse. It's exactly the same as if I'm in the room, because it's a telepathic connection. So I don't actually have to be there. I can only really travel about an hour's worth to go out and visit people, because it's such a tiring thing. Each horse takes about 1 to 2 hours to do. It's a really thorough process. So I have to limit my traveling time plus the communication time, and then traveling home again, because it's too draining for me to do that. But the remote sessions that I do are exactly the same, because the connection is exactly the same. There's no difference, and although it's hard to believe, and that's how I do it from photographs as well. I prefer to do it over the video call, because their person is there with them and they can see it happening, and they can see the horses relaxing, they can see the horses licking and chewing and processing the information, and when they go into their trance state, or when they lay down, or they do behave in a way that isn't usual for them, and when they release some emotional trauma that they want to talk about, the difference in the softness in their eye and things like that, they can see it all happening in real time.
Do you ask questions, or do you allow the owners to ask you questions and then you ask them to the horse, or how does that work?
I do a bit of everything, because I try and give the service that I would like. And so how it works is I always ask the horse's permission first. Just because their human has asked me to do it doesn't mean that they want to
Right.
tell me. It's a very respectful procedure. I haven't got one here with me, but I use a crystal pendulum, and it swings one way for yes and another way for no. I also get transferable pain in my own body and with the mental image. So it's a combination of those things for the communication. So assuming they say yes, I then make the connection with them. I take a few moments to see if they give anything to me, because whatever they want to get off their chest, they usually it sort of hits me to start with.
I'm
Um,
sure. I'm
yeah,
sure they're just so happy somebody wants to know.
precisely.
Right.
And so once they've given me that, then I'll check with their person and say, they're giving me this. Can you take any of this? Do you understand any of this? Does this mean anything to you? Usually it's a yes. And then what I do is I ask them if they've got any physical pain. It's not always a yes. And then I ask them if they've got any physical discomfort. I've never had a horse say no to the physical discomfort ever. Then what I do is I do like a physical body scan, and I start at their feet and I go all around their body asking whether they've got any pain or discomfort in those areas, starting from the feet, going to the past, the fetlock, the camembert, the knee, all the way around, hind legs, box, stifles, pelvis, go all the way around. Where they say yes, I use a numbering scale from 1 to 10, asking what level of discomfort they've got, and things like, have you had it a long time? Does it get worse with exercise? Bearing in mind the communication is in real time, so you have to remember that they're stationary in their stable or in their field at the time of questioning. This brings me on to a really important point, that legally I tell everybody that I cannot and do not diagnose. That isn't what this is about. I have no veterinary training at all. That isn't what I'm doing. All I'm doing is pinpointing areas where they're telling me that they're uncomfortable and the level of discomfort that they're in. And by asking things like, was it a niggle that's got stronger? Did it come on suddenly? Can you remember a time when you didn't have this discomfort? And breaking things down, we can kind of isolate incidents and areas of their body. And usually going around, the highest score is usually the origin or the source of the discomfort. But you have to remember that obviously there's secondary and compensatory issues, as well as other probably separate issues going on as well. So what we find is usually where the source of the issue is, and then it sort of the ripples out, and there's sort of lower level issues elsewhere. And that helps the human, because then they can get the right professional to help them. They can sort of go to their vet or their physio or their osteo, whoever they want to use, and say, I'd like to start at this area, please. A lot of the time when you don't, you know, your horse is lame or they're not quite right, but where do you start? This helps just kind of almost like triage it a little bit and just, well, we'll start here. The numbering system is not only important for the discomfort level, but it's really important because the lower level numbers, the ones and the twos, we may not be aware of at all until they get to the point where they're higher, and then they become obvious. So we can identify the rumblings and the things that are the niggles that are just starting, and get on top of them preventatively, and you know, help them with supplements or treatment, whatever it is that's the issue, going forward to stop it getting any worse.
What I'm thinking is that a lot of people are going to go, especially us Americans, right? Because we think everybody speaks English and American English at that.
Yes.
How do you explain that to maybe people like in Mexico who speak Spanish, or your Spanish clients or French clients? You know, not every horse speaks English.
Because we explore it. I explore the language, if you like, what I'm using. It's mental images, it's emotion. That's what I'm receiving back as well. So I'm picturing their body part, and asking them. It's kind of like it's really hard to describe, but it's like a universal understanding through the emotions, the sensations, the images, and everything. I do communicate with the humans in English, and most people that I speak to do communicate with me in English. But
right.
Yeah, it's quite hard to explain that, but it's never been an issue because I use visualization.
Have you ever gotten a strange, I don't know if the word is strange, but a visualization from a horse of something that their owner says they would have no knowledge of? Like a different part of or the universe, different part of the planet.
Not really. It's all been very current and very to do with their kind of life and living in the moment. I've had some very strange images that I didn't know what they meant initially, and we had to kind of work through. One lady that I was talking to her horse, and I suddenly had a vision of Frankenstein's head nailed to the stable wall.
Oh no.
Exactly. And we like, oh my goodness, I've never had this before. What on earth
Hmm.
does this mean? And we sort of chewed it over and couldn't think what it meant. And I carried on with what I was doing. And then she said, "Oh, my nickname for him is my little monster."
Oh my gosh.
So it's things like that that we she immediately realized that he didn't like that. So she said that she wouldn't do that anymore. I get lots of images that need a little bit of working out, if you like, to start with, but they're all
Yeah.
relevant. They all turn out to be relevant.
I had a body worker one time who I just adored, and she was doing some craniosacral work on me, and she said, I have a really strange question to ask you, and I
Mhm.
hope you're not offended. And I thought, oh boy. And she said, have you ever been in a bar fight? And I was like, well, no,
Mm,
not that I recall. I mean,
mm.
um, and she said, why? I just had this really strong image of you being hit over the head with a bottle. And I immediately started laughing because as a teenager, um, I hit my own self upside the head with a glass Gatorade bottle.
Oh gosh.
Yes. Swatting at a bee.
Ah, okay.
It had been a long, hot day of horse showing. I was coming back from the barn to the house. We'd gotten all the horses home,
Mm,
put away. It was hot, and this bee started buzzing around me. And back then, the Gatorade bottles were glass, and it
mm.
was one of the big fat ones. And I just started doing this and hit myself in the head with it. Quite funny, that she would get that image some
Yeah,
probably 20 or 30 years later.
yeah.
Yeah.
I had another one recently. There, a lady contacted me, and this was by video. That her horse, she wanted to know whether he was ready to for the final journey, and she wanted to have that opportunity, that if he was, to have that last goodbye and that last conversation with him. Before I'd even connected with him, and I was just talking to her like you and I are now, I had this very strong image of Princess Diana's engagement ring, that huge blue, beautiful blue sapphire. And I said to her, I'm sorry, but I've just got this image, and it's just popped into my head." And she said, "Oh my goodness, I've just come back from Goa, and I've come back with a big blue sapphire, because when it's been done, I'm going to make it into a piece of jewelry with his ashes." They So that was quite reassuring for her, because he kind of already knew. He was like, "Yes, I know it's going to happen. I'm ready. I accept it. It's fine. It's time. And I know that you're going to keep me with you forever." It was a really powerful message.
I always feel like my job as a teacher of people is to help them become more aware of things that they aren't necessarily very aware of, in regards to their horses
Mm-hmm.
foremost. So when you communicate with the horses, do they ever seem surprised by the things that humans don't notice?
Not surprised, sad. There's lots of common themes that come through. It doesn't matter the breed, the age, anything, and it's to do with how they're kept in domestic life. It's quite sad, because it shows that we're not doing it quite right for them. We're doing it a lot of the time for our convenience, for
Yeah.
what we want to do, and unfortunately, it's them that pay the price. No matter how intentional we are with looking after them and how well we think we're doing, so much of their life is still compromised for our convenience. Humans don't like to hear that, and that's where it gets a little bit difficult. But I don't shy away from it, because I am their voice. I've just had to learn how to deliver those kind of messages a little bit
Mhm.
more diplomatically. Things like, I need more time with my birth mum. I
Mm.
need I need more time to understand the training that you're giving me. there's no such thing as a naughty horse. I need more time outside. Please, would you spend more time, unconditional time with me? I need friends. Success doesn't have to be measured with trophies. What they're asking for is unconditional time with us and unconditional love from us. And as humans, we're very conditional,
Hmm.
even within our own relationships. I mean, the marriage vows, they're conditions to our unity together. If you break those, then goodbye. We're very conditional. I think the only time we're unconditional with each other is with our own flesh and blood. That the animals aren't like that, and the horses, they just love unconditionally. When they live with those conditions, I will love you as long as you perform. I will love you as long as you're healthy. I will love you and look after you as long as you're young. I will love you. But as soon as you start costing me money or you can't perform in quite the way I want you to, then other decisions are going to be made. I mean, that's not unconditional. And
Right.
they know that.
I think they do. And I think so many times that is why, and maybe you know, but I don't know if horses choose to move around, but sometimes those horses that get passed around a lot, and then hopefully they find the place. I wonder if the horse is just like, this is not the right place for me. I have to move on
Yeah,
because,
I think there is some of that.
yeah, and it takes a very unique way of being to learn that you can be unconditional with the horses and you can give them grace to be who they want to be.
Mm.
And yes, a lot of people don't want to hear that, and it's a
No, no.
hard thing to bridge.
The thing as well is about when you think about choice, they have no choice at all in anything that they do. They can't choose who looks after them, who they live with, how they live, what they eat, what activities they do. Not a single thing.
Yes.
And so when you start looking at them like captives,
Hmm.
then it puts a different perspective on things. And how that resonates with you will kind of tell you how much ego you've got as a human. Over here in the UK, I kind of say the difference between an equestrian and a horse person. Because if you put your horse's needs above your own, that for me is a lovely relationship. If you will compete your horse at any cost or any consequence because it serves you, then that's not okay with me. I'm not anti-riding, anti-sport, anti-competing, none of that, but I am if it's at their consequence and that it's at their cost.
Right. I I agree with that. I also think that I see a lot of cognitive dissonance in that I put my horse's needs above mine because my horse has the vet, has the chiropractor, gets new shoes all the time, and gets the massages and the all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And then, all I do is take some ibuprofen and carry on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm putting my horse's needs above my own.
Mm-hmm.
The dissonance comes where people don't realize that those aren't really the horse's needs.
Exactly. They probably need all those things because they're having to cope in an environment that isn't their choice and they've got no control over.
Right. And when you mention to people, to think of your horse like a captive, because
Mm-hmm.
essentially that's what they are,
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole lot of emotions around that people do not want to get into. And I bring people back to during the COVID pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you weren't happy that you had to stay inside. You
Exactly.
weren't happy that you had all these restrictions on your freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But how many freedoms does your horse have?
Exactly that. Exactly that. And we sort of touched on community, but even when you think about even their community, they can't choose
Hmm.
who that's with, or for how long that they're with them. It's vital for their health and physical health and their mental health. Imagine us being stuck in a room with 20 people. We'd probably get on with some of them, probably move away from some of them. But if the room isn't that big, there's going to be some conflict somewhere along the line. But we can probably leave unless you're incarcerated. But
Right.
oh, there we go. There's another parallel. That's companionship, but that's not the same as having that bonded pair that you would choose and being able to move and roam. But but that's where the compromise is, isn't it? Of course, not all horses can be wild and free. You know, they are in domestic life and they are in servitude. Um, let's be honest about what we're going to call it. If people are honest and use the correct language and not try and change the suit the narrative, sorry, change the narrative to suit themselves, to justify how these horses are kept, and actually be honest about it by using the correct terminology and the words, it would change their perception on how they kept them and how they treated them.
Do you think horses appreciate that awareness of the situation? Do you think they appreciate when we just think that way? Like,
Mm,
I know this is not the best situation for you. I'm working on it. If
mm-hmm.
we are aware of it, do they appreciate that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because when you're with them and you're telling them that, they're feeling that emotion from you. That's what they feel, and that's what they connect with. Yes, they recognize verbal cues and commands, but what they actually respond to is the emotion and the energy that you're portraying and you're giving to them. Which is why it's so important when you're with your horses and you've got a feeling that something's not quite right. You trust your instinct, and not be swayed by outside, because you and I have got a relationship. You know me better than anybody. I'm communicating with you as subtly as I can. I don't want to have to shout, "You've got it," because you're wondering about it. Just stick with it and trust it, and act on it now.
Because I think a lot of times they are sending us signals
Mm-hmm.
and we're just not listening,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Or we don't know how to. I've gotten myself into some sticky situations that I was like, oh, that horse told me, and I
Mm.
learned my lesson.
Yes. Yeah, but you learned, and that's the thing. None of us come into this knowing everything, and nobody does know everything. This won't be a very popular opinion, but all the scientific research, all the behaviorists, I mean, I've got qualifications in horse behavior and equine psychology, and it's all the studies are human observation of horse behavior.
Hmm.
That's great. That's a human's perception of a horse behavior. What I do is get the horse's perspective on horse behavior.
When you were talking about community and having time with their birth mother earlier, I was remembering that I had recently seen something on social media about um like a place where they're they're keeping, all these moms and foals together, and how wonderful is that? We're keeping them together and they can play and they can do all of these things, and the babies can be babies. It did not say at what point they take them away from their mothers, but why is that our perception of what is normal for the horse? Because it's not their normal
You
at
know why?
all.
It's because of industry, it's because of money.
Yeah, can we just say that we have made these conveniences for ourselves to work horses for
Yeah.
when they were for work and now
Mm-hmm.
for our recreation and money? None of this is natural. A bunch of mares that are not bonded by family
Mm-hmm.
turned out together is not normal.
No, no, and no, and
You know?
I've heard so many people say, oh, my mare, she's got an injury. I think she'd make a lovely mum. I'm going to breed from her. I think she'd make a lovely mum, and then take the foal away at 4 months.
Or
Or 6 months. I mean, how is that allowing her to be a mum?
exactly. And then you also have the other side where maybe the mare, for whatever reason, has a hard time carrying a foal,
Mm-hmm.
and they keep trying to
Mm-hmm.
rebreed. This horse has an injury.
Mm-hmm.
I've been pregnant, and I can tell you it was not comfortable. Oh, and I have aches and pains.
Mm.
So it's so interesting how we make it okay
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
for the horses and how people will also listen to this and say that we are the ones who are anthropomorphizing because
Yes.
horses are horses.
They're
They don't.
sentient beings with emotions. And let's be honest, we're only now as humans getting on top of our own mental health, aren't we?
Right,
You know?
right.
So it's not surprising that the animals' mental health and emotional welfare is so far behind. And the whole thing about horses that have the stable vices and things, oh, that they copy from each other. No, they don't. They're all responding to the environment that they're in, and the fact that it's negative, that should tell you all you need to know.
Hmm.
That they're coping. They're stressed. It's the environment that's doing that. We're not going to change everything, but it's so nice that more people are open to even listening about it, even if they're not fully on board with it. The statistics I was given yesterday is that most of my followers, the demographic is the under 35s.
Interesting.
And my least percentage of followers is the oldest demographic. So that says it all, and it gives me
Hmm.
such hope for the future. My generation is very traditional, very old school, kind of show them who's boss, they must do as they're told. But that was the same with children, and now
Right.
and now the younger generation of horse carers are coming in, and they are considering whether their horse's emotional welfare is okay, because it's normal for them, because theirs is being looked after. This is the next generation of horse caregivers, and it does give me hope for the future that it's at least being considered. It's a small majority, but it's a
Right.
minority.
What do you think horses value the most? What do you feel from them the most?
Being in a loving, safe environment, that is the common theme. And it's really important for them to know whether they're in their forever home or not. I had a really vivid image from a horse that I went to see, and she'd had several lone homes, and I think she'd had about 9 homes in 2 years. The girl that had called me in, she'd only had her a few months. And I got this image of a little child in striped pajamas sitting on the stairs, clutching the banister, holding his teddy. And the emotion I was getting was like a child in foster care.
Hmm.
I've never been in that situation, but that was the emotion that I was getting. And you think about a horse that's had more than one home, that they don't know where home is. As if they've been on a lorry or on a trailer and taken somewhere and left there, it could happen again. And some of them spend 20 years in their forever home, but they're not 100% sure that they are. Sometimes that's all they need to know, is that I can reassure them that they're with their forever family, they're with their forever in their forever home, and they are loved and safe. So a lot of the time that's all they need, and it changes their whole demeanor. They can settle, because going back to community, that feeling safe and feeling loved is actually really important to them.
It's so interesting how we know that to be true for children
Yes.
and we just disregard it
Mm.
with the horses. What do humans worry about that horses rarely mention?
Whether they want to go to shows, that's a big thing. The more performance-based things, the horses don't think like that. They don't even think about success. They just exist. That's kind of quite a difficult one. the youngsters who are very excited about winning and going out to competitions because they love their pony and they want to be with their friends and show off, trying to get
Right.
them to and without bursting their bubble, but trying to get them to understand that the horse will enjoy the time together that the horse wants, and that the ribbons are irrelevant.
Yeah.
um
I think it's such a hard thing because I came from that mindset, going out and winning ribbons and doing all the things. And then my one horse that changed a lot of my perception. He was one where I was able to make that experience of going to competitions like a vacation for the
mhm.
two of us. People would always ask me, "How did you teach this horse?" I don't know, other than I am 100% happy to be here and we have this whole thing. We have a routine. I let him choose to do certain things as much as I can. A few times, he was either taken to a show by someone else or I had to leave for some reason. In those instances, he was pretty unhinged.
Mhm.
But even though I'm like, dude, I'm not leaving you, I will be back, was not good enough, apparently.
No, and that's because he trusted you. One of the things with Orion, my horse, I used to visualize if I was going on a holiday or vacation, I would visualize to him me getting in a car and going away, but then me arriving back in the car so that he would see me arriving back. And that's what I started to do because I suffer terribly from separation anxiety. I won't go anywhere because I just don't like being away from them. But once I'd
Mm.
started doing that, and it seemed to sort of do the trick a little bit, I started feeling more confident that he was okay. He knew.
We're always worried about what other people think of us,
Oh yes.
right? So are horses judging us by our little idiosyncrasies or our fears of something?
They're not judging us at all. They're not judging us at all. They're just coping and waiting to be heard. They don't judge us because they're coming from unconditional love.
Do they notice our emotions?
Mm. Yeah. And it's about your intent. With Orion, I stopped going to the yard in my riding clothes every day because the intent starts from way before you get to the barn.
Hmm.
Your intent starts at home. And so I would take my riding clothes with me, and then I would see him, see how he was, and then decide whether we were going to ride or not. So then I was giving him the grace and the choice of how he felt today, because
Hmm.
just because I'd turned up there and had the intention to ride, quite a lot of the time he didn't really want to do it. And
Right.
I think of all the times over the years where other horses in my life have kind of walked off and I've gone chasing after them with the halter
Yeah.
and taken them and have done it anyway. And now I
Hmm.
know that if they turn away or they don't willingly come towards me, then that's not what's on the agenda today. I found that by examining my intention, and it's not just my words and my behavior, it's even my thought process.
Right.
They pick up on it all, and that's really where horses with multiple riders find it a little bit difficult as well, because they're having to manage not just one set of expectations, but
Hmm.
um, lots of different people's emotional baggage, experiences, their boundaries. It's not just their physical, weight and the way that they ride. It's the emotional stuff that each one of those people then brings to that animal as well.
Hmm.
It's very difficult for them. The expectation is on them to just do it and just cope. But
Yes. I
actually,
bet
a lot of them really struggle with that.
people are very much not aware,
Mm.
oftentimes, of what their real intentions are. They don't realize the little things that they're doing that give away
Hmm.
their deeper feeling. I always tell my students, your horse is telling on you because I can see what your
Hmm.
horse is telling me. I know this is what you think you're doing, but it's not what you're doing. When you said that about showing up to the barn not in horse clothes, I will often tell people to like practice being consistently inconsistent. Show up in your riding clothes, but then don't ride. Give them the option. If you take the saddle out and they go away, or you take the
Mm.
bridle out and they go away, okay, fine. Sometimes get on and ride for 5 minutes. In some ways, I think that helps the horses, but I really think it's more of a practice for the humans because now they
Yes.
have to pay attention.
Yes, and I would go one step further with that. I say to people, if your horse behaves in a way like that, question why. So,
Right. Yes.
and always ask why. And then, depending on that answer, break it down, go back as far as you can until you get to what the actual source. It's like, the horse opens their mouth, so they close it with a tight noseband.
Right.
No. Why is it? Why are they opening their mouth? Are they in pain? What is the issue with that? If your horse doesn't approach you in the field when you go with the halter, why? Have you checked your energy? Perhaps have you gone marching in there with a force field of energy and it's just too powerful for them?
Mhm.
Have you had a bad day at work and you're carrying that negative energy with you? Why are they doing that? Then you can self-reflect, and it's not always you, it can be environmental, but unless you are curious and you ask why, you're not going to get the actual answer. But again, that isn't convenient a lot of the time,
It's
because
not
the yeah,
convenient.
and because the truth isn't always pretty. um
Yes, it's not convenient. It
mm,
requires us to slow down
exactly.
and connect to
Mm,
something.
mm,
And the truth isn't always pretty, and we don't always want to hear the answer.
no.
Which brings me to my favorite question because I have actually never had a session done with any of my animals because I have this fear of I don't want to know what they have to say. And
Okay,
that
so where does that come from? So I'm going to ask you why.
I am afraid that they're going to tell me that I am failing and I just don't want to hear it.
So that doesn't come from your horses. That is deep rooted in you
Oh,
from
yes, it's definitely my
before, isn't it?
problem. Yeah,
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 yeah, and that's conditioning that as humans we grow up with, and the environment, the lifestyle that we grow up with being conditioned. Just imagine what if they tell you how wonderful you're doing.
yeah.
And but this is why my work, I can't sell it, I don't do that. It only works when people are open enough to be ready. And if you're not ready, there's absolutely no point, because you've got to be at that point where you can accept the truth, no matter
Mhm.
their truth. Even if you think you're doing a fantastic job, you've got to be prepared that they might have a different opinion to that. But instead of looking at that as a negative, if you look at it as a learning example and how you can improve it, and how then your relationship will be even better than it is now. And it's just twisting your perception and your perspective of it.
Yeah, I love that because people will always ask me, and I'm like, absolutely do it. But I can't lie to you and say that I have done it. I have not. And I'm just being honest as to why I have not,
Mm.
because I do know that I have people in my circle that feel the exact same way. I do think that it's a wonderful resource for people. It can just make your relationship better. Don't be a
Mm.
big ninny like I am.
Well, but the thing is, it's about finding somebody that you trust and that you can relate to, as well. Not every communicator is going to be who you resonate with,
Right.
and that's really important, that you find somebody, if you do want it done, that you feel that you're drawn to.
Yeah.
And that makes all the difference as well.
And I want to give you the opportunity to tell us more about the book because it sounds really amazing.
It's about my life and what led me to this point. It tells a story about the journey of exploring, the traditional horsemanship, then finding natural horsemanship, studying Monty Roberts, Pat Pirelli, then Buck Brannaman and going to Montana to the ranch and just involved sort of trying to learn as much as I can, and then how that changed and how it related to the spiritual stuff. And then it's lots of testimonies and stories from real people that I've worked with, and it's in their words. They've written in and said about how the problems they were having and how the communication work has helped them and how it has improved or strengthened their bond and relationship with the horses. And I've illustrated the book as well. I've tried to capture the emotion from the horses, because sometimes pictures say so much more than words, and it explains about the colours being so important. And so when you understand that red means pain, purple means healing, black means negativity, when you look at the pictures you see them in a different dimension, and it's almost like they come to life before your eyes, because they're not just looking at the picture, you're actually feeling the emotion that the horses gave to me, that I've then tried to put on paper to teach people.
Well, I'm going to get a copy because
Oh.
I haven't read it yet, and so now I'm excited to. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely to have the opportunity to talk about it. So thank you.
You are welcome. It was so great talking to Ginny. And yes, we did forget about your 10-minute experiment when we were recording the episode. Ginny was gracious enough to record her 10-minute experiment for you, and I'm tacking it on to the end of this episode. Let's see where it takes us.
Hello, it's Ginny Horton, animal communicator here again. And I just want to talk a little bit about something that I ask all my clients to do in preparation for a communication, whether it's by video or whether I go in person. And I always ask everybody to write down a list of questions that they would like to ask their horse. They keep the questions and I don't see them. They keep them for the actual day of the communication. And it's really so that they don't forget to ask anything that they've got a burning desire to know or have been wondering about. And in case I forget to ask it organically. But actually it tells me an awful lot about their relationship and what they consider to be important about their relationship. And we always go over them afterwards. And it's just a really good way of seeing where your relationship is on a subconscious level. And because if your questions are primarily performance-based, then you can see that perhaps a little bit more emotional support is needed for the horse. And it's a really good way just to see where the balance lies in perhaps the management and the emotional needs of the horse, whether they're being addressed perhaps as much as they could be. And so the questions there's no judgment based around them. It's just a really good subconscious way to have a little assessment of where your relationship really is. So I'd like to invite you to just spend 10 minutes or so and just think about, if you could ask your question to your horse, just write them down and see what comes up. I mean, there's the usual ones of, are they in pain or are they happy? But it'd be really interesting to see how many are actually performance based and how many are actually just genuinely about the horse's needs and their likes and their wants, and whether they're actually feature as a priority as much as perhaps they should be, or even if it's a really good marker that they do feature heavily. So you can really give yourselves a pat on the back and really take comfort from the fact that you are really considering your horse's needs and emotional welfare. So On that note, I would also just like to say that, of course, I know gold is a precious metal. Just got a little bit of stage fright in the interview with Anna there, but yeah, I hope you find that an interesting exercise, and yeah, don't think about it too much. Just write the questions down that if you had the opportunity to ask your horse anything, and then just have a look and see how they're weighted, and that should give you the genuine answer as to where your relationship is. So good luck with that, and I look forward to seeing if there's any response.
All right, horse fiends, thanks for spending time with me today. If this episode got your gears turning, don't let the conversation end here. Come join us inside the Happy Horse and Rider Lab, my free community on school.com, where you can share what you're noticing, ask questions, and connect with other thoughtful horse people. We're going to keep exploring how these ideas apply to you and your horse. If you're ready for more structured support, you can also find the Reconnect, Rebuild, and Ride with Heart inside the school community classroom. Don't worry, the link is in the show notes. I can't wait to see you there.